podcast. My name's Dr. Tim Teel. I am the Doc of Unlock. You can find us at docofunlock.com. But man, do we have a special deal for you guys today. On the Unlock a Life You Love podcast, we have Trish Kane. Hello, Trish.
Hello, Dr. T. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and just I told you, we had a conversation before we started. I said, man, I got to stop. I want to save some steam for the conversation, but I have to tell you the story about Trish, who she is, how we met, and then I'm going to let Trish tell her own story. But Trish is the founder of 5D Healerverse. It is a social media platform where people who do all different forms of complementary and alternative healing can have a voice, and you can go check them out. It's 5dhealerverse.com. I'll let Trish tell more about that story. But I met Trish in Miami in 2023. We were both at a conference about learning how to tell your story. And if you haven't gotten the point that our story here at Doc of Unlock and Unlock a Life You Love is a little bit different, but not without evidence of the power of that story. I went down to learn how to tell my story, and Trish happened to be there as well. Well, Trish is up on stage, and she's talking about what it is that she does and why she's doing it, and she made a comment that I found deeply disturbing. And so after she got off stage, I walked up to her and I asked her. I said, "Are you the girl who was up there talking about people in the complementary and alternative healing space being censored on social media platforms?" And she said, "Yeah." So, and I said, "I want to know more about it." And so that's the introduction that I had. I'm going to let Trish tell the rest of her story about who 5D Healerverse is, how she got there, and why she's doing what it is that she's doing. And I'm just going to tell you right up front. Today is as much about the Constitution of the United States and preserving the First Amendment thereof as anything else. The people who gave their lives to establish this country, who risked everything, not only life, limb, but their entire fortunes, their reputations, and again their very lives, to establish a free country where people could have a free discourse of ideas, and where the strongest ideas would rise to the surface and have a place to operate. That's where we live. And that very freedom is in danger. We all know it. It's being spoken about openly in the media. The media we're seeing as tremendously slanted, and we're seeing all kinds of censorship and control. And I, was moderately aware of this, and then this little blonde-headed chick stands up on stage and says, "I'm doing something about it." And I'm like, "Oh, I got to go talk to that girl." So I did, and
I
and
said
here she
that.
sits. Here she sits, right here on my podcast. I am so very proud to know you, Trish Kane,
Right.
and so very proud of the work that you're doing. So let me get out of the way and stop my diarrhea of the mouth and let you tell your story. So tell us where you came from. Why are you doing this? Just give me some background. I set you up, so you knock it out of the park for us, sis.
Thank you, Dr. T. And I absolutely love you. I think you're amazing. And like sometimes I just want to preface by saying sometimes I don't realize like also the other effects of Healerverse and what I'm doing, that like it's, there's so many different things that I stand for, that I advocate for, and purposes with Healerverse, right? And definitely the Constitution is definitely one of it, but it's like just not really fair that people aren't able to have specific conversations about healing and wellness and growth. And, like it's only like basically controlled by specific entities, and they're kind of all in on it because they make a lot of money together, right? And they kind of set up structures that aren't actually like helping people. They're really not, they're helping themselves, right? So they're all making so much money together. And literally, I forgot I got up on stage and literally specifically said, so I decided to do something about it, right? So,
Good.
yeah, almost, I guess, 8, 9 months ago, I launched a platform called 5dhealerverse.com, aka Healerverse. And really, it was built on a resentment. So,
I got
um,
mad and did something about it. I love it.
yeah, because I really saw what was going on, that there was like
So
just
what did you see? What did you see going on, Trish?
yeah,
Let's just drill down and specifically say, let's not dance around it. Tell me
no.
exactly what it was that you saw going on.
So over lockdown specifically, I noticed that there was a narrative that was being pushed on Meta products about big pharma and big pharma, big pharma, and it seemed like it was all created and controlled so that way they could hurt people emotionally, physically, spiritually, and try to get them to do a specific thing. But it was like a lot of us were like, we're just not going to do any of this stuff. But also, like, spiritual and holistic healers are censored and shadow banned on social media, i.e. Meta and other alike type platforms, Google, everything, YouTube, everything is kind of like that. So I'm like, this isn't fair. Not even talking about any of the stuff that was being pushed at that time period, really pertaining to just love and abundance and all this stuff that I stand for as well, just completely centering and shadow banning it. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. And meanwhile, I'm a theta healer, I'm a Reiki healer. I'm also an MBA. I worked on Wall Street when I was a kid. I've done sales for 20 years. So, like, I guess this geared me up for this thing that I decided to build when I got the idea in 2020 and into 2021, and really started studying tech and figuring out how do we create like a space where people can openly share about a lot of even the issues going on in the world, not even just about spiritual and holistic healing and the millions of different practitioners that are out there and modalities that vary from country to country and country. And how do I find friends out there? And everything is also spread out from Eventbrite to Google to Meetup to TikTok to Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. Like, how do I just bring everything to one place so people can find friends, can be open about what they're experiencing, and people to come together with unity and give people hope and love that dearly need it? Because a lot of the consequences of society being structured in a specific way, that a lot of us don't fit in the box, right? The box that's been constructed. I would say most people don't unless they're asleep, and just kind of following protocols, but that's actually not who they're meant to be. And like you said, kind of like the liberation of thinking and the liberation of like creativity is really what our country was structured to be able to be in our creativity and create things that don't exist yet. And that's really how we're built. And additionally, I tell this story sometimes often, sometimes not as often, but in 2014, I actually died from an overdose of cocaine. And I was 86 degrees Fahrenheit when the paramedics found me. That translates to 30 degrees Celsius. My mom had a feeling something happened to me that day and had a wellness check performed on me, and they found me like that, dead. During that time, I actually went through a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, there was angels there. And my higher self was kind of saying, it's not supposed to happen like this. It's not supposed to happen like this. So I guess I made a decision not to go there just yet, but I did wind up going there for a little bit. But I came out of my body. I saw my feet. They were blue, but I didn't know that they were my feet. I went up there for a little bit to the other side. I was trying to communicate with the people there, and no one was listening to me or could hear me or whatever. And then this is preceded by a 9-day coma on life support, where the doctor said to my mom and dad, there's no way she's going to make it. But if she does, she's definitely going to be brain dead. My dad was making phone calls telling people like this isn't looking good, with a lot of hurt in his heart. Anyways, maybe it's because I'm a ninja, or maybe it's because like medical is not always correct. I woke up
Maybe you
after.
just had a job to do, sis. Maybe
I
you just had a
definitely
job
had
to
a
do.
job too. They told me that when I woke up from the coma too, Dr. T. They said, I have no idea how you're here right now. You have angels, and you definitely are here for a reason. The doctors told me because they put me in the MRI machine. I also had 2 strokes because of lack of oxygen to my brain. So if I'm ever slurring or not on point, like cut me some slack. You know what I mean? I literally, I had to learn how to walk again, talk again, think again, breathe again. All my organs died. Organs that don't even come back online came back online. I'm sitting here almost 10 years later, 10 years sober, 10 years later almost, and like my organs are working just fine.
Listen, no, I wish I could say I've never heard this story before,
Right,
but no, but
right.
near-death experiences are all over the internet. They are ridiculously popular,
Yeah.
and no, and I just like a lot of other people, I have gotten addicted to watching them. I'm a
Yes.
little bored with them today. You know why?
Yeah.
It's because they all say the same thing over and over and over
Yeah.
again. And I heard somebody describe it one time. They said, no, somebody has a story to tell. It's a one-off thing. It's easy to blow away or just throw it, toss it aside. Two people say the same story. No, it's kind of interesting. 20 people tell the same story and it gets your attention. Two hundred
Yeah.
thousand, 20,000, 200,000 people have the same story. It becomes data. Regardless of how
Yes.
weird the story is, it becomes data and you must pay attention. With this wonderful tool, the internet, and Zoom, thank you, Zoom. Oh my gosh, I love you.
That was
We
probably the best
have
thing to come out of lockdown was
Oh, it
Zoom.
is,
Yeah.
unquestionably, and
They
no,
were
no,
probably in
and
on it too, though.
oh, who knows? And it doesn't matter. It
I just
doesn't matter. It gives
exactly.
people it gives people like you and all the people that are on Healerverse, and me and everybody else the opportunity to have these kinds of conversations, share the information, and start lighting those little candles all over the planet that says this is a piece of information. And with enough candles lit, we light up the entire world to say there is data, not just somebody's weird story. This is data, guys. And that's exactly why people are having these experiences. And that's exactly why people are drawn to listen to these experiences because there's a message to be heard. And it's very clear that no, that message is that this life that we're living is a trial period. It's a play. It's a test. It's a simulation. There's more to what we can see and hear and weigh and measure. More, there's so much more here that than what we can quantify, and we've got a job to do. Okay,
Yes.
unquestionably. You hear
And
that story,
learn.
you hear Trish Kane's story, you
Yeah.
cannot come to any other conclusion than to say,
No.
holy cow, she was a corpse. She was a corpse for like
Literally.
hours.
Yeah.
I spent Here's something you didn't know about me. I actually spent some time in the funeral business. Do you know how long it takes for a body to go from being alive to room temperature? Do you have any idea how long it takes?
No, I'm about to write it
About
down though.
about 17, it's about 17 to 20 hours. Okay.
Wow.
17 to
Yeah.
20 hours. And so what you're telling us is that for somewhere between 17 and 20 hours, your
Yes.
brain, your organs were starved for oxygen because you can't get
Yes.
down to a body temperature like that
No.
unless you've been dead for hours. And so no, so to have
Wow.
documented evidence that
Yeah.
that your body temp was as low as it was, I'm like, holy
Yes.
crap, you got to listen to
Yeah.
what this girl has to say because
Yeah. It's
it's
on the police
vividly
report.
obvious. There's
Yeah.
something that no, you should. I hope you have a copy of that police report
I
and you
have
show it to
it.
people.
Yeah, I
Do you
have like
really?
a whole thing. And every time
Yeah,
I
that's
move, it's like a whole new initiation. I'm like, oh my God, And I've talked to the police officer that found me, and he was like, "No way you're alive." He's like, "I've been to this house before." My mom had called him because at that point I was staying at my mom's house 10 years ago, and
Mhm.
my mom had called him for something else. Something happened with a car or something.
And the same guy responded?
The same police officer, he's like, "Oh, I've been to this house
Whoa.
before." Yeah, and I live in a gated community, it's like a very safe community,
Right, right,
a lot
right,
of senior citizens, it's quiet and peaceful here, except for, like, sometimes the occasional too much alcohol or, like, slipping full of an elder, but this was like a massive thing that happened that day, and the
right,
police officer was like, "I've been to this house before." And I said, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Oh, well, like, this is what happened." And he was said, "I was here for that." He's like, "You're alive?" No, because
yes,
like they even two times, this is the story that they told me, two times they tried to get the respirator down my throat and they were unsuccessful. They were gonna put a trach in my throat, but they were like, "Let's just try it one more time." This is the story they told me, right? And they tried it one more time. They were able to get it down. They rushed me to the emergency room. Thank God for like hospitals,
right,
because it's all in place and part of the greater plan. Most of
right.
the people that go to the hospital it's like a 70% or higher go to the hospital for drugs or alcohol related issues, right? Whether it's pancreatitis or like whatever. And I had that too after, right? Because of my organs. Yeah. But yeah, like he was like, "No way you're here right now." And I even went back to the hospital at one point to be like, "I just want to tell you guys," because they told me, they said, "If you ever drink again, you're gonna die." And I freaking believed them because I tried to stop before that, right? Drinking, like, and I never wanted to do drugs. I just wanted to drink successfully, like everybody else,
Right.
It's like, why can, but that's another thing that's also like not medically quantifiable or qualifiable. Like, why do people like keep doing that? But it has to do with like society and the ingraining in us and culturally and
Gotta be a part of the herd, otherwise you won't survive.
yeah, and it's so acceptable and it not even acceptable, it's encouraged, right?
Right.
Drinking, almost in every culture, not every culture. Some cultures in the Middle East and stuff sneak it in, but um it's
So, no, so Trish, I want to, no, I want to back up. You said something earlier that no,
wild.
that no, I'm going to take issue with, and no, and
Ooh,
no, it's great because no,
it
because
is
you
good.
you had mentioned that no, that on some of these other social media platforms that no, that it's not fair. That no, that no, that people who are in the complementary and alternative space don't
Yeah,
have the same voice that no, that everybody else has. And I would tell you, no, yes, in fact, it is fair. But what people don't realize is that no, it's fair because those social media platforms set the rules,
yes,
and they don't realize that if people assume that no, that you have the same rights on no, on those private platforms that no, that you would no, anywhere else, and you do not. And the
right.
no, the great deception is that no, is that somehow these are no, these are media platforms that have to play by the rules, and in fact they are not. They are private platforms that no, that no, that don't have to play by constitutional rules. However, that also provides you, people like you, and everybody who is on your Healerverse platform, the opportunity to say, "Oh, well, we're not welcome over here, so so we'll go do our own thing," and where we
Yes,
do have the where it is fair to talk about spiritual healing, to talk about alternative forms of establishing flourishing good health and expansive well-being, as I like to say
yeah.
here at Doc of Unlock and Unlock a Life You Love. So, talk to me about is there did you want to did you have a comment or anything that you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, so like right now what's on there is like very heavy on like put your events on there, find practitioners, like we're gonna do appointment booking
On no,
soon.
you're talking about on 5D Healerverse.
Yeah,
Gotcha. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also we're going to build out groups on there soon too. And on the groups, it's not even just pertinent to spiritual and holistic healing. People will be able to create groups about whatever they want to create groups to, as long as it's in alignment with us, right? My only rule on there is don't be a freaking jerk. Be nice to each other. You know what I'm saying? If you don't agree on spiritual or religious, like any kind of like views, just don't comment. You know what I mean? Like it's not the platform for that. Take what you need and leave the rest type of a motto, right? But everything from like sex trafficking to human trafficking to like everything, healer verse is also its own healer, right? Whatever the topic is that you think people can come together and figure something out and make the world a better place and out some stuff, you're welcome on there. Create a group on there when the groups come out and start discussing it because it's a good place to do that. So that way, like people that have certain missions, because everybody has their own mission. Like you said, I came back with a purpose. Certain people have certain missions and purposes, and I think it's important for them to be supported on Healerverse to be able to have some of these conversations that they can't otherwise have elsewhere. So that way things can start to get solved for humanity and solved, like, you know what I mean? And helping others is also so important.
So talk to me about the kind of folks who are welcome on 5D Healerverse. Because I live in East Texas. Okay, it's a fairly conservative part of the world,
Yeah,
and there's a whole lot of people that would say, I don't know, you're kind of getting out into that weird territory out there. Maybe we should talk more about Jesus and what Jesus can do because Jesus can heal the world.
yeah,
I just so you know, I don't have any issue with that. And
yeah,
in fact, no, for the most part, most of the spiritual healers that I have been around are primarily Christian, grew up in Christian households, and hold those beliefs near and dear. But no, but just because we're talking about spiritual healing doesn't mean that we are including or excluding anyone. Would that be a fair
right.
assessment?
Yes, yes. I actually encourage churches to put their events on Healerverse instead of Eventbrite. I want people to find people by them that are doing good things in the community.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for that.
yeah.
Every single religion, it's a time for religious organizations, like, or just religions in general, to come together with unity and love. Like,
Thank
that's
you.
something that I feel very strongly about. And when I've mentioned that to people, they're like, you're out of your mind. This goes back for like hundreds of years. Like it's never going to happen. But like, I don't agree.
Well, no, and they're not wrong. I mean, there has been
Yeah.
conflict. There has been,
It's ongoing.
exclusivity, and you don't belong here, and we're the only ones that have a right to talk about God and the creation and all. Hello, do you know what happened in 2012? Do you have any idea what in the world happened in 2012, folks? I just want to ask that question to anybody who's listening and doesn't understand what happened in 2012. The Mayan calendar ended and the world did not. What do you
Yeah.
reckon happened? What do you reckon happened? There
I
was, and
started
I'll
to have
just,
my spiritual awakening in 2012.
and you are not alone. And
Yeah.
it took me a little longer to bloom, but I can remember 2012, and there were shifts that
Yeah.
happened in my life, and there were shifts that happened in lots of people's lives, and those shifts have become faster and faster and faster. In 2018, it sped up again. In 2020, we got lurched into an awakening. Something fascinating happened when I was working in the hospitals in 2020. I mean, I remember what no, the first day we started talking about COVID in the OR, and how freaked out everybody was, and no, and the shift that started to happen. But no, but there was something else interesting that happened in the hospitals where I was working, and I started to see personal development books all over the place. I saw Tony Robbins books. I saw Jack Canfield books. I saw all kinds of people reaching down deep inside saying, maybe there's no, maybe there's something I need to do before I no, before I get that virus and die. Maybe there's something that I need to learn. Maybe there's something I need to grow up into. I was so heartbroken and pleased and happy and humbled to be a part of that. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, because no, this is a kind of a scary time to be around. Uncertainty was all over the place. It
Yeah.
destroyed, just
Yes.
demolished my practice. I had just moved to a new practice here in East Texas, and man, we were going great guns January, February, March, and all of a sudden, just it went to nothing and never never recovered to what no to what we were pre-pandemic levels, and and it was just amazing. But the no, but the point is, no, I try and get the horse to go all the way around the corral here. The point in that verbal dialogue was to say the world is changing. There are things happening here that are so unbelievably exciting and
Mm-hmm.
not turbulent. Absolutely. Change is always turbulent. But no, but there is an awakening going on around the planet, the likes of which most people cannot wrap their head around. There is, and those near death experiences and the people watching those and promoting those and telling their stories. So many of those stories, things happen to people 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Okay. And they're just now having the opportunity to tell their story, and the whole world is just dying to listen to them.
Yeah.
And likewise, the demand for people to get on and have complementary and alternative healing modalities
Yes.
on your platform,
Yeah.
people are just dying for it. They can all smell,
Yeah.
they all know medicine in the United States is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Its quality is dropping off. Does that mean that no, that every hospital doesn't no has no place on the planet? I think Trish Kane, the very lady sitting here, would argue with that. Yes, hospitals have a place. Western medicine has a place. They have a job to do. We're
Yeah.
missing it. We're missing something. We're missing something huge. All right, and that's something that we're missing, especially in Western medicine, is addressing people exactly as they are, as emotional,
Aw.
spiritual beings having a physical existence. We are not bodies with souls, my friends.
Mhm.
We are spirits having a temporary existence. And it is a miracle that we are here and have the opportunity to go through this world. If you want to see a miracle, look twice at the screen here, folks. She's right there. Or what? I'm sorry, right there. Okay. That's a talking miracle in somebody who has something to say, a job to do. So where can they find you, Trish Kane?
5DHealerverse.com.
And what are people going to find when they go to 5dhealerverse.com?
They're going to find amazing holistic healers and practitioners, and they're going to find events, and they can buy and sell tickets to events in this space, and healing on demand workshops, and a social media platform that they can share openly on whatever they're feeling, seeing, and be fully supported there. We do the
And
round.
what kind of problems do you guys solve over there?
So everything is like all over the world, from like Eventbrite to TikTok to Facebook to Twitter, and like Meetup. Everything is right there on Healerverse in this realm, like globally. So
So
it's giving people like global exposure.
So if
Um,
people have emotional problems, if they have a disease, if they have cancer, if they have a
yeah,
trauma, if they have autoimmune disease that they feel deep in their heart that there's something else that we're missing, and I can assure you there is. If they have a diagnosis that somebody or they just feel like crap and they don't have a diagnosis and a doctor's gone, I don't know. That's all we got. This is where you go, guys. This is your
yeah,
next step is 5D Healerverse because
definitely.
all the time. And I saw this over and over and over again in my practice, but it really got hot and heavy the last couple of years. And that is the physical manifestation of emotional disease in people's bodies is all over the plate. And when we limit our diagnoses and our treatment to the piece of meat that you are, then you're only treating about 3% of that body. And what we've done with treating that 3% of that body is amazing. And Western medicine can do amazing things, and they should continue to do those amazing things. However, there is this massive part of you, probably 97% of the remainder of you that is non-physical, that is very real. Okay, it is emotions and thoughts and feelings, and yes, spirit that oftentimes, in fact, more often than not, it has physical symptoms that whose root is in spiritual or emotional disease. We see it all the time in medicine, and we eventually do this. We're like, sorry, I don't know what else to do. Go see psychiatry. They maybe
Right.
have some answers. And we're not saying don't use psychiatrists. We're not saying don't use psychologists. We're not saying don't go to a doctor. That's not at all what we're saying here. We're saying that that there's that Western medicine ain't the be all and the end all that it wants to be, that it
No.
claims to be, or
Mm.
that they've convinced social media that they are.
Yeah.
I actually in on my own platform, we talk about emotional modulation. Conscious emotional modulation is the kind of the byword that we use, but taking a conscious approach to what our emotional response is to anything, and especially like with cancer patients, it's massive. Okay, when you
Mhm.
talk to patients that have unusual outcomes, cancer patients that have unusual outcomes, there are some common characteristics. There's a pattern of behavior with those folks. They're happy, they're optimistic, they express their emotions, and they believe that they can affect the course of their disease. And the guy that taught me this was a 35-year survivor of recurrent esophageal cancer. Holy cow! Do you realize? I went yesterday and looked up the statistics on it. They don't even have statistics to describe that. There is a
No,
story
there
to
is
be told
none.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And not only he's not alone. I mean, you
No.
find these people and the folks that can guide you through that process and create the kind of emotional conditions where those kinds of crazy things happen.
Yeah.
You can find those people on Healerverse,
Yeah.
5dhealerverse.com, right?
And
You know,
aligning your mind, body, and spirit is really important, right? And having like all that in unison, like you can create the new narrative going forward if you believe that you can create the new narrative going forward for yourself. And then also, the more good we see, the more good that's created. And once you start to change your mindset, the mindset of people around you starts changing. And then the world truly does start to heal, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And you start.
we've all walked into a room and felt the energy in a room. Okay, you
Yeah.
walked into a room where
Align.
where it just feels bad. You walked into a room where it feels good.
Yeah.
I've been in plenty of stage productions in my lifetime, and the times when you're up on stage and the crowd's into it, you can feel that
Oh, yeah.
energy. It is palpable in the room.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is real. But can we quantify it? No. Can we weigh it? No. Can we measure it? No. But no. But is it real? Well, heavens, yes, if you felt that's like asking somebody, is love real?
Right,
How much
exactly.
does love weigh? I had an East Texas cowboy a couple of years ago. He said, I know exactly how much love weighs. And I said, oh, really? He leans forward, he beats his wife on the knee and says, 185 pounds just this morning.
Oh, how cute is that?
He's
That's
still
super
limping.
cute.
He's still limping. Yeah,
Oh my God. Oh my God.
him so hard. That's so funny. Listen, Trish Kane, I love you
I love
so
you,
much. It
brother.
is just
You're
ridiculous.
literally
What
amazing. Thank
what
you.
you are doing is so critically important. Let
It's
me
so
give you
important.
congratulations. Let
Thank
me give you
you.
encouragement.
Thank
You
you.
are preserving the Constitution of these here United States, and you are
Yeah, I like
preserving
this
the
country.
First Amendment to
Yeah.
that Constitution that says we have the right to speak our minds, and that right provides the platform whereby the strongest and best ideas that serve humanity at the highest levels have a voice, and you will find them on 5dhealerverse.com. Trish Kane, thank you so much for you. Oh, you go, girl. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
I
Dr.
got to shut
T.
things off. We can sit here and talk all day long. You'll see her again on this podcast, folks. So I appreciate your time, Trish. My name's Dr. Tim Teel. I am the Doc of Unlock. Thank you so much for joining us here at Unlock a Life You Love podcast. We'll see you guys next time. See you later, girl.
See ya.